Granada Reports.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
For the love of Genevieve, the parents of a baby girl killed by unspeakable cruelty and neglect at Nursery take their safety campaign to Westminster. Will be live and exclusive with the latest.
A coroner rules out suicide after hearing Liverpool drag queen, the Vivian, died of a cardiac arrest after taking the drug ketamine.
A turbulent 10 years as we celebrate ITV's 70th birthday, how Granada brought you two huge stories that shaped the city's future.
Still going, Topman. It's a terrific finish.
Name on the trophy, we meet the team putting Northwest disability football on the map.
And today we could talk weather till the cows come home. Some interesting provisional regional June stats on offer. I'll fill you in very shortly.
Well, first tonight, the parents of a baby left to die an awful death at a nursery in Stockport have taken their campaign to the heart of government.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago that 9-month-old Genevieve Meehan was inexplicably strapped face down on a beanbag and left unattended for an hour and a half at the former Tiny Toes nursery. She died of suffocation. Last year, the woman responsible, Kate Ruffley, was jailed for 14 years for her manslaughter.
Well, right now, Genevieve's parents are in Westminster. They've just met the Early Education Minister. They want to see a number of improvements made to nurseries nationwide.
Well, in London with them is our reporter Emma Sweeney. Emma, what can you tell us?
Well, Katie, that meeting finished around about an hour ago. The purpose for Genevieve's parents is quite simple. They want to see a change in the law. I'm very grateful to John and Katie for joining us here this evening. We'll get into the ins and outs of what happened in that meeting in a moment. But John, to you first of all, what is it that you're calling for?
So the campaign has three main goals. The first is around the mandatory use of CCTV within nursery settings. The second is the improved regulation and inspection of safe sleep requirements within those same settings, and also improvements to the Ofsted inspection process, so more regular unannounced inspections and better use of the CCTV in those settings by Ofsted.
And you put some of those points to the Minister, in fact put all of those points to the Minister. What was his response today?
So we had a really open and frank discussion with the Minister. The Minister considered we made a really powerful case out for the changes that we were seeking. He promised us he's going to go away and look at those changes that we're advocating for, and of course we're going to hold him to account for that. And it's about children's safety, and we need to ensure that this government is doing everything it can to keep children safe within those settings.
And Katie, only today the government announced that in September there will be 200 more school-based nurseries opening in England. Given the nature of your campaign, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really important for the economy, it's important for parents, but equally important is that those nurseries have to be safe. And while safeguarding measures are coming in this year, more needs to be done. And we think that that has to go alongside with the increased provision, otherwise children are at risk.
Well, I asked the Minister, I had a word with him after the meeting here this afternoon. I asked him about those concerns. This is what he had to say.
So safeguarding is a top priority for me as we roll out the childcare entitlement offer by September this year of 30 hours of funded childcare. Making sure that's done safely for children is an utmost importance. We're getting more people working in the sector. We need to deliver more places. Safeguarding is a real priority, and absolutely we'll continue to work with the sector and Ofsted to bring out the change that we need.
Now, in terms of those safeguarding measures, the government says that there will be strengthened measures around recruitment as well as whistleblowing. But of course, Katie and John, you don't think that goes far enough, hence the fact you're asking for a change in the law, and you have plenty of support behind you.
Yes, we have the support of our MP, Tom Morrison, who's been fantastic. We're working with the Lullaby Trust. They are the leading charity in terms of safe sleep and preventing children's deaths. They are the experts. The government should be speaking to them. And we've also had the support of Jo Frost, who most people will know as the super nanny. She's fantastic and she's been really, really helpful, and as said, she's going to support us going forward.
We are so grateful that you allowed us down to London today to follow your progress, and of course we will continue to stay across your journey. For now though, I'll hand back to the studio.
OK, Emma in Westminster for now. Many thanks indeed.
Well, next, in an inquest being told that one of our region's best-known drag queens died after taking the drug ketamine.
Yes, James Lee Williams, who was known as the Vivian, was the winner of the first series of RuPaul's Drag Race in 2019. They suffered a cardiac arrest while taking a bath at their home in Cheshire in January.
but the coroner found they had not intended to take their own life, and our correspondent Mel Barham was at the inquest.
This was how most people knew James Lee Williams.
Don't get too comfy, girls. This isn't going to take 2 minutes.
The entertainer shot to fame as the Vivian after winning the first series of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. But on the 5th of January this year, the 32-year-old was found dead at their home in Chorlton by Backford in Cheshire. The inquest heard that friends had become concerned that they'd not been able to contact the Vivian since the Friday night. So on the Sunday, a neighbour and her son used a spare key to let themselves into the house. They found the Vivian unresponsive and unconscious in the bath. It was clear that they'd been dead for quite some time. That neighbour broke down as she told the court she tried to keep the Vivian's head above the water. But there was no sign of drowning. Instead, their death was due to ketamine. The coroner heard the performer, who'd also been on Dancing on Ice, had struggled with drug use in the past, something they'd admitted on TV.
I was a drug addict for 4 years of my life. I was killing myself. I've always said that it never bothered me or anything. But, it did bother me. And I could have been dead now if I hadn't done anything about it.
The Vivian had claimed then to be sober, but the star's best friend said he'd spoken to the Vivian in a video call that Friday night, and it was evident they'd taken ketamine. 5 empty snap bags used to hold drugs were found at the property, in a bedroom drawer and in a bathroom bin. Toxicology results showed they'd taken an acute overdose that night. A post-mortem examination revealed the cause of death as cardiorespiratory arrest due to ketamine use. The coroner concluded there was no third-party involvement and the Vivian didn't intend to kill themselves. She ruled the death was misadventure. The Vivian was described today as hard-working, highly talented and well-loved. Their family and friends wanting them to be remembered not for their occasional drug use and death, but for someone who used their platform to make a difference. Mel Barham, ITV News, Warrington.
And there are a range of helplines relating to drug use and addiction on our website. That's at itv.com/Granada.
It's more of the day's news now, and there are calls for a concert in Manchester this weekend by the punk act Bob Vylan to be cancelled after he was accused of making anti-Semitic chants at the Glastonbury Festival. The Jewish Representative Council of Greater Manchester say his show at the Victoria Warehouse, scheduled for July the 5th and 6th, should not go ahead.
We have seen a surge in hate crime across all sections of society, with one of the most prominent being in the arts and culture space. So the fact that an individual feels emboldened to go on the stage at the biggest music festival in the world to openly incite violence against Jewish and Israeli people is something that will naturally cause Jewish people around the country and around the world a lot of concern.
The final person receiving hospital treatment after a car drove into fans celebrating Liverpool's Premier League title win has been discharged. More than 100 pedestrians were injured in the incident on Water Street last month. 53-year-old Paul Doyle of West Derby will appear in court in November, charged with a series of alleged offences.
Former Manchester United and Liverpool footballer Paul Ince has been charged with drink driving. The 57-year-old was inducted into the National Football Museum Hall of Fame 4 years ago and was arrested after a black Range Rover hit a central reservation in Cheshire on Saturday. He was bailed and will appear at Chester Magistrates Court in July. Well, next tonight, and thousands of teenagers have just finished their GCSEs and taken a well-earned rest.
Yeah, but not 15-year-old Leo Palmer from Morecambe. After finishing his exams, he decided to get on his bike and raise a load of money for a really great cause.
Yeah, inspired by his nana Sandra, who has multiple myeloma, he cycled from Lancaster to Westminster. That's 242 miles to raise money for the charity Leukemia and Myeloma Research UK.
Well, Leo popped in for a chat with us and with his parents a short time ago, and we asked him what inspired him to take on the challenge.
It was just an idea that popped up in my head, and then with the situation with my nana and what she's going through, it was something that we could tie it to and do this thing that I wanted to do, and we could do it for a good cause, and it's just something nice to do, yeah.
And you've cycled 250 miles. How tough was that?
I would say it was more mentally challenging than physically challenging. The first 3 days were a bit of a breeze. They were just a bit boring, to be honest. Day 4 was definitely tough, but other than that, it was fairly easy.
And Christina, this was all to support your mum, Sandra, who has been diagnosed with multiple myeloma. What was her reaction and what was your reaction when Leo came with you with the idea?
I think we didn't take it seriously straight away because, you know, 15-year-old boys quite often have bright ideas. But as he started talking about it more and showed how determined he was and that he wanted to do this, we just backed him. We wanted to help him in any way that we could. So my mum's just blown away, really. She can't believe that Leo's done this, you know, to support her in a roundabout way with what she's going through at the moment. So yeah, it's really fantastic. Yeah.
And Jamie, you were his backup driver. You were saying he had quite a difficult start on day one.
Yeah, he's day one was tough because the route messed up a little bit. So he got to certain points where it was like a cycle track, but it wasn't because it was rocky, it was muddy, and there was no way through. So yeah, I just had to be there and sort of help him to reroute and get around that problem.
And Lee, I think I'm right in saying that your initial target was £500.
Yeah.
You've managed to smash that. Just tell me how much you've raised so far.
I think it's sitting around £3,400 at the moment. It is mind-blowing because I never thought I'd go this far over the target, yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. And Christina, how is your mum doing?
She started treatment at the Royal Lancaster Infirmary in October last year. The consultants, the nurses, all of the staff at the RLI have just done such a good job of looking after her. And, you know, compared to how she was when she started the treatment to how she is now, are just worlds apart. It's the work that charities like Leukemia and Myeloma Research do that are helping those wonder drugs to be able to be made for people like my mum. So.
Well, there's no doubt that you have a very impressive young man here. Leo, Jamie, Christina, many thanks indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Suffice to say that Leo puts a 15-year-old Gamal to shame.
He does. Oh, he's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, let's take a little look back through the archives once again as we celebrate 70 years of ITV in September.
Yeah, we're now up to the 1980s and we're off to Liverpool to see how Granada reported on some of the biggest stories at the time.
Our Merseyside correspondent Annie Bonner now looks back at two events which helped shape the city.
The Liverpool of today was shaped to some degree by the events of the 1980s. Our cameras were on hand to film the ups and downs of a turbulent decade. A decade sparked by simmering despair, which exploded into violent rage in 1981. While the Toxteth riots hit the headlines, they were rooted in a backdrop of high unemployment, poor housing and few opportunities. The man charged with turning things around had already been working with the city for 18 months.
And I'd done what I thought was a reasonable job. I'd listed and saved the Albert Dock. I'd created a development corporation.
The corporation has clearly been successful in tidying up the derelict heart of Merseyside.
I'd created partnerships with the private sector with the help of public money. And then they rioted. I said to Margaret Thatcher, look, law and order, absolutely sacred to a Conservative government. But I think there's something odd about this, and I'm going to walk the streets.
3 weeks since the bins have been emptied.
I came face to face with a world in which I had no real experience. I come from a relatively prosperous middle-class background, and here it was life at its crudest, at its roughest. Not everybody, of course not, but there were examples of acute poverty and despair.
We're beginning to see an improvement in the situation. It takes time, but it is...
I spent 18 months, once a week, coming to Liverpool. We had a notebook. Each page was a project, but it changed me.
The city changed too.
For this visit, the church...
Helped in no small part by the visit of the Pope John Paul II the following year.
The Pope's first port of call will be for a service at around 5:30 in Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral, before the Pontiff moves off along that oft-ceremonial way called Hope Street to Liverpool's Roman Catholic Cathedral.
We just emerged from our local turbulence, but there was healing. The lovely thing was, this was a city that has healed so many times. Before he went in, he took stock of those thousands gathered on Hope Street, and from the vantage point behind me, he could see right along. Now, those of us who were canny and agile had realised we could get close to this, so we managed to get ourselves right behind him. It was almost surreal, watching the Holy Father wave down Hope Street, and it became momentarily slowed down, the thousands waving back. I raced home and watched it on television a few times.
It isn't a visit for one day, it could last a lifetime.
To look back and think, this was a day that a saint came to Liverpool. We'll never lose sight of that.
Two events that shaped this city, caught on film in a now permanent record of our recent past. Andy Bonner, ITV News, Liverpool.
Memories from the 1980s there. OK, time for sport now, and fears City's progress in America could hamper their Premier League campaign. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, Manchester City playing Al Hilal of Saudi Arabia in the early hours of the morning in the last 16 of the FIFA Club World Cup, hoping to extend their season further. But manager Pep Guardiola admits he doesn't know how that might impact next season. England manager Thomas Tuchel and former Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp have both raised concerns about player welfare as a result of the tournament, which could yet have another 2 weeks to go should City make the final.
Don't think about it. Otherwise, I will be so anxious. So I try to be relaxed, to enjoy the days here, the good vibes that we have, the competition, to try to win it. And maybe in November, December, January, ask me, Pep, so listen, we are a disaster, we are exhausted, the World Cup destroy us. I don't know, because it's the first time in our life that's happened, right? So we will see.
Manchester United's Ella Toone scored twice as England comfortably beat Jamaica in their final friendly before the Euros. The Lionesses produced a dominant performance, winning 7-0 with Toone's goals coming in the first half in Leicester. England begin the defence of their European title against France in Zurich on Saturday. Well, next to the latest piece of football silverware heading back to the region. It comes courtesy of Cerebral Palsy Northwest FC, who were among the winners at the weekend's FA Disability Cup finals at St George's Park. They beat Chelsea 4-2 in the final, and they've brought the trophy back home to Salford. Chris Hall is with them now. Chris.
Yeah, this isn't the first time that CP Northwest have had their hands on this trophy here. They won it back in 2019, but back then they won the final 8-1. This one was much tougher. They had to come from behind twice to beat Chelsea. So, Lewis, you must be absolutely delighted to have this trophy in your hands.
Yeah, unbelievable experience for the team, for the club, for Berkey. You know, we won't be here without him.
And you were player of the match as well in that final with two very impressive goals. What was it like? Talk me through the whole experience of playing at St George's Park.
I can't put it into words. Like the whole day, the whole night, the TNT coverage of what they did for the whole of disability is just amazing, to be fair. Like, yeah, just unbelievable.
Let's bring in the manager as well, the man who's made all this happen. Lee, just tell me about what this can do for the club. You do a lot for the community, you do a lot for the sport. What can winning a trophy like this do for that?
Yeah, well, as an independent club, I guess, you know, all we want to do is raise the profile of the sport, encouraging more kids to get into CP sport. You know, there's a pathway there to be competitive, and the FA Disability Cup final is the biggest competition you can win, you know, in the UK.
And you were saying that you're one of the rare clubs that isn't supported by a major football club as well, and you need support all the time, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We very nearly folded in February, and we were very lucky with our sponsors, Insurance Recruitment Services and the Rotary Club of Warrington actually stepped in, provided some finances for us to carry on, and here we are winning a double.
Fantastic. I've got to talk to you about Jaden Kenyon's goal, mainly because he asked me to bring it up. But it was some strike, wasn't it? I mean, this was at the home of England's national teams, and it was a goal fit for that stage, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's a very, very talented player. You know, and we're wishing him all the luck for England this summer with the Euros. We hope Luke Vosper, one of our other players, is going to be representing Scotland. So it'll be really nice to have two players, you know, at an international tournament kind of going head to head.
Fantastic. Well, guys, congratulations. You're going to do a trophy lift for us now. While you guys get ready for that, let me tell you, these weren't the only players that were involved from the North West in the Disability FA Cup finals. We had Merseyside blind and visually impaired and Everton in the community's amputee team. They both finished as runners-up, so plenty to be proud of with disability football in the North West, especially CP North West.
Yeah, well done, CP North West. Fantastic achievement. Finally from me, it's congratulations to Lancashire's Matthew Palfreyman, who won the opening round of the World Powerboat Championship. Matthew, who's from Ormskirk, claimed victory in the opening round of the F2 Championship in Brindisi in Italy. He's a member of the Lancashire Powerboat Racing Club based in St Helens. Round 2 of the championship is in Lithuania next month. Well done to him. Amazing pictures, an amazing setting. Brindisi, it's called. I think I'd have been dizzy if I'd been in that boat.
Very good, Mike. Very good.
That's great fun.
I've nothing else to add. It was a bad gag. Let's just move on. Come on. The tumbleweed came through there. We could all see it.
You should have been here last week because we had some shocking gags there.
Hey, speak for yourself. Thank you very much, mate. Now, we stay with horsepower, but of the four-legged kind. Hundreds of the world's top riders and their trusty steeds have descended on Cheshire.
Bolesworth International is the region's biggest equestrian show jumping event in the calendar, where a horse could compete in the Olympics could set you back a cool £10 million.
Well, Paul Crone, who once rode a donkey on Blackpool Beach, has been to meet the runners and riders.
If you're going to host an event for over 800 horses in front of thousands of spectators, you could do worse than plonk it in front of a castle in the very heart of Cheshire. Bolesworth International allows Olympians and amateurs to compete in the same arena. And watching closely is talented dressage rider and daughter of former footballer and now racehorse owner Michael Owen.
You can have the most talented horse and the most talented rider, but sometimes they just don't click. So it's all about the partnership between the two. And yeah, that's what makes it really special.
Now happy just to watch the horses and riders from a safe distance is double Olympian Jeff Billington from Nantwich.
I never thought I'd be capable of going to an Olympic Games. And I went to my first Olympic Games in Atlanta when I was 41, and I went to Sydney when I was 45.
So this is Louis. As you can see, he's absolutely beautiful. On average, a show jumping horse will weigh around half a tonne. He'll jump to heights of over 2 metres, and when he's really going for it, he can reach speeds of over 35 miles an hour. He's a clever boy.
Fortunately, I'm a shape where I'm unbreakable. I'm like a weebly wobbly toy. I fall off, I roll over and I get up again.
I don't think there's any other Olympic discipline where you can find a nearly 70-year-old man like John Whittaker, who a lot of people will know as a household name, competing on a level playing field with a 20-year-old girl. And it's incredible.
It's all about the connection with the horse, and it's a bond that takes years and years to form.
Bolesworth International starts again on Thursday until Sunday, so saddle up to see skills and grace in abundance. Paul Crone, ITV News.
What's a wibbly wobbly?
I'm not going to get myself in trouble, but it sounds perfect for horse riding.
Here's Emma.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Hello there. Well, a massive contrast of weather and temperatures from the northwest to the southeast of the patch today. Some parts of the southeastern corner of our region will have achieved their highest temperature of the year so far today. That was where it was warmest and the most humid, although everywhere it felt very humid in spite of the cloud up to the north and west. Very cloudy and murky across the Isle of Man and breezy here too, and also overcast, a bit miserable as well for parts of North Lancashire. It could have been better. However, that sun's very strong, so I hope you had some protection. And also, of course, it's the last day of of June today, so we have some stats for you. Of course we do. Provisional ones at that, and regionally it looks like we're on course to be the 4th warmest June on record. The warmest being recorded in 2023 at 16 Celsius, but 15 Celsius came in at second place, and I think we're just shy of that. By the time we've taken into account today's temperatures, I think we'll slide into second place. And rainfall and sunshine stats are a little bit surprising, but the rainfall one is a bit skewed towards Cumbria and North Lancashire, where they had twice the average amount of rainfall for the month. Parts of Greater Manchester, of course, just had average rainfall, so it was drier there, and it all kind of evens out. So as we head into the next few hours, a fine clear evening, but we do have a front moving in again across the Isle of Man. Some mist and murk here, a bit of precipitation as well up towards the Lake District, but still quite close and uncomfortable for sleeping, and a bit breezier through the Irish Sea as well. Sun's up tomorrow, 4:45 in the morning or thereabouts. It's a bit of a mixed day tomorrow, and definitely a mixed start. Bright for some, but again further towards the north and west, always cloudier and a little bit damp as well, and still some humidity in the air, and still as those temperatures climb, that could kick off 1 or 2 showers. They could be heavy, quite a lot of rain, 10 to 20 mils in a short time, especially up through.
Thanks, Emma. And from hot weather to hot food. And if you thought you recognised someone from our studio interview with the Palmer family a little earlier, you were right.
Yeah, this is Jamie Palmer, dad of Leo, back in 2014 when he became the first chef of non-Asian origin to win the Northwest Prize at the English Curry Awards. And of course, there's little Leo, loving his dad's food, and wife Christina as well.
What a talented family. Good night.
Bye-bye.